I'm Mark from eReplacementParts.com. In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the recoil pulley assembly on a Ryobi trimmer. The recoil pulley assembly consists of the recoil pulley itself, as well as the hardware you'll need to mount it. The recoil pulley is the part that the starter rope wraps around. It also has a mounting location for the recoil spring, and these tabs that engage against the starter pawls. Any of these surfaces can wear, at which time you'll need to replace the recoil pulley. Replacing it is easy to do, and I'm going to show you how. Recoil pulley assemblies, as well as many other parts, can be found on our website. Let's get started. I'll begin by removing the rear cover. Now we have access to the carburetor and the throttle cable. While it is possible to remove the throttle cable from the carburetor's linkage without removing the carburetor, it's very easy to accidentally break the cast end on the end of the throttle cable. So I'll go ahead and remove the two screws that secure the carburetor to the engine. Now I can pull the carburetor away and twist it up while removing the throttle cable. Now I'll remove the clutch housing and the shaft from the rest of the engine. It's secured with 4 screws. Now I'll remove the clutch drum and the clutch. Before I do that though, I need to bind up the piston. If I don't bind the piston, when I go to remove the screw that secures the clutch drum and the clutch itself, the crankshaft will simply rotate, and I won't be able to free them. I'll remove the spark plug boot, and then the spark plug. Now to bind the piston, I'll insert a piece of starter rope into the cylinder. The starter rope will coil up and take up all that space inside the combustion chamber, so that the piston won't have any travel and the crankshaft won't be able to rotate. Now that the piston is bound, I can remove the clutch drum and the clutch. Now I can remove the starter assembly. As I pull the starter away, there's a wire that leads to the ignition coil, and I'll need to remove that. Now I'll begin disassembling the starter. First, I'll remove the starter handle from the starter rope. I'll go ahead and untie the knot in the rope. If you can't untie the knot, it is okay to go ahead and cut it off. And this one's going to be kind of stubborn, so I will just cut it. Now I'll remove the handle from the rope, and I need to take the tension off the starter spring. To do that, I'll just let the rope go inside the starter. With the tension removed from the starter spring, now I can remove the starter pulley. I'll remove these retaining clips that hold the pulley in place. Again, don't attempt to do this if you have not removed the tension from the spring. Normally there would be an additional retainer like this on the end of the shaft. However, it is missing on our model. This retainer is not reusable, so you can just use a screwdriver to pry it away. With all of the retainers removed, now I can pull the starter pulley away from the housing. I want to be careful that I don't take the spring with it, otherwise you'll have to recoil that spring. Now remove the rope from the starter pulley. Now I can install the starter pulley. I'll thread the starter rope through the opening in the pulley. I'll pull that through and tie it off with a knot. I'll then tuck the knot inside of the pulley. Now install the starter pulley back into the starter housing, aligning the slot on the pulley with the tab on the spring. Now install the pulley retainer. It's important that you install the retainer at this point because we're about to tension the spring, and without the retainer it's possible that the spring can uncoil at you. So I'll place the retainer over the shaft, and using a socket that fits it closely, just press it into place. Now tension the pulley spring. I just simply wind up the starter in a clockwise motion. On this particular style of starter, I have to let the rope follow me around the starter housing. I'll coil this up almost as far as it'll go. You want to keep a firm grip on the pulley as you do this, because if it slips out of your hand, it can give you a nasty cut. Okay, right there's as far as it'll go. I'm going to back it up until that starter rope is in line with the eyelet that the rope passes through. Now I'll thread the rope through the eyelet. Continue to keep pressure on the pulley so it can't rotate, and I'll install the remainder of the pulley retainers. This retainer is for the eyelet. You'll notice one side has a curved surface that fits over the eyelet. Now rotate the starter around, keeping a firm grip on the rope. I'll go ahead and tie a knot in the rope so the rope can't extend back into or recoil back into the starter. Now I'll reinstall the starter handle. I'll thread the rope through the handle, tie a knot, and pull the knot back into the top of the handle. And I'll finish up with the starter by removing the knot that we tied in the rope earlier. And then I'll allow the rope to recoil into the starter housing. Now we can reinstall the starter. First I'll slide the spacer back onto the crankshaft. I'll connect the ignition wire back to the ignition coil. And then I'll slide the starter over the crankshaft. As I do, I'll tuck the wires, the ignition wires, back into the starter housing. With the starter back in place, now I'll secure it with the screws. I'll reinstall the base and secure it with its screw. Now install the clutch. First comes the large washer, and then the clutch. If you've removed the piece of starter rope that was in the cylinder to keep the crankshaft from rotating, go ahead and reinstall that now. And then I'll tighten down the clutch with a pair of adjustable pliers. Now install the clutch drum. First comes the small spacer washer, and then the drum. And I'll tighten down the internal screw inside the drum. Now reinstall the spark plug. And replace the spark plug boot. Now I'll reinstall the upper shaft to the engine. As I do that, I need to thread the throttle cable through the engine housings. I'll secure the clutch drum housing to the engine. Now I'll reinstall the throttle cable back onto the carburetor's throttle linkage. And I'll secure the carburetor as well as the choke plate with the screws. As I tighten the upper screw, I want to make sure I have the choke plate lined up as well as the wavy washer so it doesn't get pinched by the screw. And now I'll reinstall the rear cover with the air filter. And now you know how to install the recoil pulley assembly on your Ryobi trimmer. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give us a thumbs up and leave a comment.